Hello and welcome. My name is Monserrat Martinez. Today I will be discussing Bharati Mukherjee and her story, The Management of Grief. Mukherjee was born July 27, 1940 in Calcutta, West Bengal, India. She studied in the United States and in Europe and became a professor at multiple colleges and universities before she landed in UC Berkeley. Mukherjee published many literary works, including Jasmine, Desirable Daughters, and Wife, along with many other books and short stories as well. Her work generally follows the struggles of being an Indian immigrant in a new world, trying to find your way while also living with stigmas and cultural beliefs of your past life in India. She was the first naturalized American citizen to win a National Book Critics Circle Award in 1988. Mukherjee passed away January 28th of 2017. At age 76 in Manhattan. Like the rest of her works, The Management of Grief is centered around an Indian family who immigrated to Canada. Story follows the character Shia LaBeouf, who lost her family, including her 2 sons and her husband, on an Air India flight that was bombed on its way to Heathrow. She later goes to Ireland where the remains of the passengers are found, and where she and other families who lost loved ones in the plane bombing go identify the bodies. She has an emotional experience in the sea with her neighbor Kuzum, who also lost her husband and younger daughter. The 2 women were standing in the sea when they thought they saw a head bobbing in the distance. That is when the 2 women decided that they needed to survive. As is tradition, to leave flowers or petals in the water to honor the death of a loved one, Shyla leaves things that her sons loved in the ocean for them, and a poem that she wrote to her husband telling him how much she actually loved him. After her trip to Ireland, where she could not identify any of the bodies as her loved ones, she goes to India with her family to try and spend time with other people that she loves. She stays there for 6 months in family company, trying to be somewhere familiar. After she sees her husband in a temple, she decides to go back home to Canada when he tells her in a vision, "You must continue alone what we started together." When she returns to Canada, she continues to stay in touch with other relatives or people who also lost family members in the plane crash and tries to go about her life. She helps Judith Templeton, an appointee from the provincial government who was supposed to try and help the families of the victims financially or otherwise. She helps her to communicate and get in touch with them. After helping Judith with a Sikh elderly couple who lost both of their sons, she realized that Judith was not taking her job as seriously as she should, and she was just supposed to let people grieve and mourn in their own process. Shyla was not going to help with anything that she did, so she left Judith. Some of the main characters include Shyla, of course, who is the main character. She lost her 2 sons and her husband in the plane crash. On the outside, she seems to be processing everything calmly and in a quiet manner, but in reality, internally, she is screaming and crying, and she wishes that she could suffer as hard as other people who she knows also lost family. She sees and hears her sons talking to her and interacting with her in her everyday life and in dreams, and she wants to tell Judith or other members of her community that my days, even my nights, are thrilling because she still has them in her life. Judith Templeton is the appointee from a provincial government who is assigned to help the victims of the crash, but she is insensitive to their needs and does not understand their culture. She sees her clients that don't understand her as difficult or as a burden instead of what they actually are, which is grieving people who need somebody who understands them. Kuzum is Shyla's neighbor who also lost her husband and younger daughter. She is the one who notifies Shyla about the plane crash when she runs across the street in her bathrobe screaming and crying. She works with the Swami to try and console her grief and ends up living in India, far away from her only surviving daughter. Dr. Ranganathan is an electrical engineer who Shyla meets in Ireland. He loses a lot of his family members in the plane crash and is able to identify them along with many members of his community. He offers Shyla 2 roses in Ireland to throw into the sea to honor the deaths of her sons and husband. He is the one that tells her it is a parent's duty to hope when she has hope that her son might still be alive because he is a strong swimmer. He stays in touch with Shyla throughout the years, calling her 2 times a week. The irony in the story is mainly with Judith Templeton, who is supposed to be helping the people she reaches out to, but does not understand how they need help. She goes into their homes and does not accept their tea. She does not try to communicate with them in a caring or emotionally sensitive manner. She simply goes in there and expects them to sign every single paper that she gives them because she thinks that's the way she's helping them. Not understanding that they still have faith that their family will reemerge, she sees her clients as passages from a textbook instead of emotional beings who need support in trying times. What she also does not understand is that while they do need money, they are very community oriented and seek help amongst each other more than outsourcing the things that they need. One of the themes in the story is that of isolation or alienation. Not only as an immigrant in a new country with no family or looking for a new community, living in a different lifestyle, but obviously after family members in their communities pass away and they are left to themselves. In the very beginning, it mentions Kuzum's housewarming party, less than a month before the plane crash, when everybody in the neighborhood went and enjoyed a home-cooked chicken tandoori. Everybody enjoyed themselves and took very happy pictures, and then it goes directly to the sadness of many of them no longer being there. Dr. Renegathan is also experiencing isolation, yet he refuses to leave his family home. He says the house is a temple, the king-size bed, and the master bedroom is a shrine. He sleeps on a folding cot, and she describes him as a devotee. Themes of religion versus science are also mentioned, with Kuzum seeking help from a swami and relying on her religion to cope with the loss of her family, and Dr. Renegathan being a man of science, relying on reason to get him through his grief. They both have different coping mechanisms while suffering the same experience. Flowers are very symbolic in the story. They are often used in Indian culture to honor the death of loved ones, and they symbolize spirituality, purity, and hope. Dr. Renegathan offers Shyla flowers in the sea to honor the death of her loved ones. She also brings flowers to the animist temple in India and feeds them to the fire while she sees her husband, and he tells her that she needs to continue on with her life. Another symbol in the story is that of the package that she drops on the bench at the end of the story. By this point, she had not seen or heard the spirits of her family in several weeks and was beginning to give up on them. When she looked up to the sky and felt their presence one last time, and they told her, "It is your time, you must go and be brave." Then she drops the package and continues to walk away. She leaves her baggage and emotional stressors behind. From this moment, she is now capable of going through with the rest of her life in peace. Thank you.